Welcome back to Ask the Good Doctor on Sirius XM, Urban View, Channel 126. We're talking powers and becomes action. I'm Dr. LaJoyce Brookshire, enjoying this wonderful conversation with Sylvia K. Alston, insurance specialist, risk management of the Momentum Advisors. That's the name of the show. The name of the company is Momentum
Risk Management.
Risk Management. Yes, a national minority brokerage firm. Hallelujah to the Lamb. Thank you. So Sylvia dropped some information on us, shocking the daylights out of me. She said that if you are uninsured, that means if you have no insurance and you have been exposed to the virus and carry the antibodies, or if you have had COVID and recover, you cannot attain insurance. Right, Sylvia?
Yeah, no life insurance. You're not eligible for life insurance.
That
And
makes
right
you
now,
ineligible.
you're not
That's not
eligible.
fair.
No, it's not fair. But you know what? We're in a time where, and right now, the insurance industry has not said what the period of ineligibility is.
So,
So we don't know if it's going to be a year. We don't know if it's going to be 2 years. We don't know
right.
if it's going to be 3 years. We do know for other chronic illnesses or other major illnesses like a cancer diagnosis, if you've gotten a remission, you have to be in remission for 5 years generally before most insurance companies will say, okay, we'll consider the underwriting process for an insurance policy.
So let me ask you this question. As these children get ready to go back to school and possibly expose themselves
Yeah.
to the virus, if my first grader is not insured, if my college age child is not insured, if my high schooler is not insured, and they get the virus, which we are seeing numbers escalate
Yeah.
for the virus right now, if they are not insured and they are exposed to the virus and carry the antibodies, it's no insurance for them?
Let me just say this. We all have a health bridge report, right? We all subscribe. When you go to the doctor, whatever comes out on that report, it goes into a medical underwriting report.
Isn't it called the Medical Information Bureau?
Yes,
The MIB, right?
the MIB report. If that information lands on that MIB, it is there for the duration. It's almost like a health credit report,
That's
right?
exactly what it is.
And so if it lands on that MIB, then you are uninsurable until they say you can, apply or get insurance. And like I said, right now, because we're still in this thing, there have been no guidelines to tell us you have to be clean for 3 months. You have to be clean for a year. Right now, you are considered uninsurable if you've been exposed or had a COVID diagnosis or illness for the
Um,
for the duration, sis. Right. And so, let's pay attention to some of the case studies that we've seen. Like, they are still learning so much about this disease.
yes,
You know what I mean? Its biomarkers, how it's changing as the disease advances,
it's
and
morphing. That's the
it's
word.
it's that's
Morphing.
what it's
It
morphing.
morphs every
So
16 days.
so what's happening is I've read recently that we've now had over 7 million Americans exposed to this disease with over 205,000 deaths. The disease keeps changing. It
Yeah.
keeps changing, right? And so what people are doing are creating case studies to just try to give us a pathway to follow on
Okay.
what the disease does to your system. They
Hmm.
still don't know enough about what the disease is
Nope.
doing inside the system of children. And so, unfortunately, yes, the answer to that question is if there's an illness, if there's exposure, the it's the high probability that you are uninsurable for the duration, and
So
it's
let me ask you this. If you
incredibly
are
unfortunate.
Miss Insurance Lady, may I ask that if you've had COVID and you do have insurance, are you able to increase the value of it?
No, ma'am.
Oh,
No, ma'am. Because what happens when if I have $50,000 in life insurance and I decide now that I want $300,000 in life insurance, but I've been exposed to a major virus or a major illness, I have to go through re-underwriting. Yeah, I qualified for
Mm,
the 50, but I have to be underwritten again to qualify for the 300, for the additional 250.
wow.
And so that's where the line is drawn. When you go to requalify, like I said, if that information shows back up on the MIB, no, you're not insured. You're
So
considered.
here's what's interesting about this. There are so many likenesses akin to HIV
Yeah,
because that was the issue before. If you
yeah,
had been exposed to HIV and
yeah,
it ended up on that MIB report, you were not insured.
yeah,
Insurable. Now this is the same, that you are uninsurable if you are exposed to the virus.
yeah,
So I'm this makes a great case for the point I keep making. The best recovery plan for the coronavirus, for COVID-19, is prevention.
yes,
The best plan for any illness is prevention. Here's the deal, you all. We have got to
yeah,
stop succumbing to diseases that we can prevent. If we know that it is a matter of the immune systems being weakened, then by all means, strengthen your immune system.
yeah.
What are you waiting on?
That's exactly it, sis. That's exactly it. And you know what? I just want to. I don't think I can say enough about what your program has done over the last few years, because you've been coaching and talking to us about immunity and building our immune systems. You've been talking about this long before it was fashionable, long before
Ma'am.
anybody wanted to hear it,
Yes, ma'am.
telling us to drink water and eat fruits and vegetables and get proper rest. Since I've met you, I mean, like, it's been on loop. Like, when the song goes off, it starts. LaJoy starts up again. One song go off and it's back on. Girl, get the fruits and vegetables and drink that water and get proper rest and stay out the club and stay away from all them dirty boys and all of everything. I mean, you've been consistent. But what we now know is that consistency is saving lives.
That's
I mean,
correct.
I have been, and I'll be honest with you, we have been taking daily vitamins.
Mm,
We've been taking zinc.
mm.
We've been taking elderberry. We've been taking echinacea. We've been taking C and A, and we've also ramped up what we're eating to make sure that those foods that are high in quality of those minerals and vitamins, that we're getting
Yes.
extra of them. So
Let me clap you up. Yes, ma'am.
I'm
And you're staying out.
listening. I'm
And you're
listening to
staying
my
out of
sister.
restaurants.
I'm listening. I'm listening to my sister because I
And
don't
you're
want no
staying out
trouble.
of restaurants.
Well,
Okay.
yeah,
So
one
listen.
can't be perfect. But I will say, I
No,
will
I'm
say this:
perfect.
I'm not going like I was. I'm not
Okay,
ordering
good.
takeout and that kind of thing. But I just saw my some of my best friends. I hadn't seen them, LaJoyce, in a year. So we got together. Once there was a clearance in the state of Delaware, we got together, and then while we were in Delaware, then the numbers went back up, and they were like, Delaware's no good, and
Yes.
I'm like, all right, I ain't gonna see y'all again in Delaware. But it's like just trying to stay ahead of this virus and just make sure that we're doing our due diligence, not from just a standpoint of just washing our hands and wearing our masks, but everything that we're
Whole lot
putting
more.
into our
No,
system.
and so we also have to take care of our financial wellness,
Yeah,
because we are seeing that. How many phone calls have you received with people wailing, trying
yeah,
to figure out if that policy is still good that they know they
right.
let lapse?
Yeah. Listen, I told you, I've got somebody in my family now, who I just had that conversation with, and it's heartbreaking
Yeah,
because as a provider, as somebody who works in the industry and is normally able to solve problems, when I'm unable to solve a problem for someone that I care about, or for someone in the community who needs my help, it's heart-wrenching for me. It's
yeah,
heart-wrenching for me to tell somebody, who now has a progressive illness or now has a progressive disease, that progressive illness or that progressive disease makes them more susceptible to development of COVID, and they don't have any insurance protection or they don't have any money to deal with where they are. And we've got to be so careful
Oh,
about
yes.
every end of it. Our health, our money, we're at the highest levels of exposure
Yep.
for most chronic disease and illness.
No doubt. Even at 13% of the population. But it's every single one of them are preventable. This is what I'm saying, is that if we don't learn anything under the sound of my voice, it is my hope that we will stop succumbing to the things that you can prevent,
Yeah.
that get a handle on it.
Yeah.
And I appreciate, Sylvia, so much. I want to ask you one more question about the insurance industry. It seems to me that with, at this point, 220,000 Americans who have died from this disease, that the insurance companies are beside themselves in paying out. Talk about that.
Well, I haven't heard that. And I'll tell you why.
That's good.
I haven't heard that. I'll tell you why. Insurance companies are well prepared for calamity.
Okay.
They are storing, they are
Good.
collecting, they are reinvesting, they are buying insurance on top of your insurance. So they are
Oh.
reinsuring.
Oh.
Yeah,
What's the word you just used? They are doing what?
reinsuring. They're buying insurance on top of your insurance. It's called reinsurance. So when you buy insurance and you take out whatever the premium is, they take your premium and invest it into reinsurance to make sure when they have to pay, their reinsurance companies will pay you and not them directly.
Get the heck out of here.
I mean, this is how the business works. And so that's why I'm saying to you, sis, that, and then they have regulatory and compliance funds that they pay into in each state, that gives them more cushion, right? So, just to switch gears for a second on the business. And when we talk about all of the small business owners, one of the major things for me that kind of was heartbreaking in the conversation around these $1 trillion parachutes that Congress was, was offering to major corporations and companies, is that the
Yeah.
small business owners, when their businesses went down,
Yeah.
when local and states and nationally we got shut down, there is a feature under business owners policies that will normally activate to
Mm.
cover their lost business expenses when businesses shut down.
Okay.
But the insurance industry, after the SARS,
Oh.
after the SARS virus and bacteria illness, they put an exclusion of virus and bacteria on the business owner's policy.
Shut up.
So even though there wasn't heavy exposure in the
Wow.
country, they still prepared for it. And so what they did was, for the few times that they had to pay out under the SARS coverage, they went back into the insurance policy and put on an exclusion for virus and bacteria. So when this happened, they pretty much had saved themselves from
Oh.
being able from or from being responsible for holding the bill for so many small business owners' losses. But they
Wow.
could have paid it. They could have paid it out of these guarantee funds that they all pay into, and these regulatory and compliance funds
Yes.
into, and then been reimbursed by Congress, and then been reimbursed by the CARES Act. But they didn't do it. And that's why it's also, I'm moving into my activist stage, because that's
Yeah,
why
yeah,
it's
yeah.
so important for us to vote, for us
It
to be
is.
on the front lines and understand who the people in office are.
Yeah.
Because if they're not working for us, then they're working against us.
No doubt.
That's what we see, and that's what we've seen so many times happen. In the last 7-8 months, we've seen where this Congress, this Senate, they could have done a much better job making sure that the insurance industry held its end of the responsibility for small business owners and for individuals and families.
I have a question that comes from Lenny from Twitter, and he asked, I don't have insurance, but I know that I should. And I see these Colonial Pen commercials. Are they true that say you don't need a medical exam?
Yeah, so Colonial Pen has
Thank you.
it's yeah, I take a deep breath. The reason why I take a deep breath is because um yeah, they work. Yes, they do exactly what they are proposed to do.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
But if you don't submit, if you're past the point where you can submit for underwriting, or past the point where you're healthy enough to get through underwriting to get approved for insurance, that you're paying double or triple what anybody else who submitted to those tests would get.
Oh.
You're able to get insurance, but you're buying less. There's a
Mm-hmm.
whole industry called final expense. Uh,
Yes.
or what we call burial policies, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
what we call it's 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 done, it's sold much like, payday loans are sold to our community,
Woo.
because you get at max, they max out somewhere in the neighborhood of like 25,000 or $40,000, but you're paying three times what somebody would pay for a $40,000 policy that actually submitted to testing or underwriting.
Interesting.
But most
Interesting.
times, people who buy these policies, they can't qualify for anything else because they're too advanced in age, or they're not well enough to get anything else. So for me, what I'd say is, if you're not advanced in age, if it's just about wellness, work on your health.
That's
Because
right.
insurance companies, what I will say about insurance companies on the life insurance end is, your health can improve. And if your health improves, so does your insurance rates.
Hello. I get a refund every year.
For having nutrition and wellness, and for doing your five major appointments every year. Yes, you
And
get credit.
for because when those numbers come back, my insurance agent always calls me and say, we cannot believe your numbers.
Yeah,
Can't my premiums drop
yeah,
as I get older and older? I say, like, hallelujah.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
all I have to say.
yeah. Companies like Aflac, they do a great job at that, at making sure that they pay you for being well. You
Yes.
know, and it's available to you. I know a lot of employers who are, if you are healthier, your insurance premiums will drop. They'll give you a $500 credit back at the end of the year, or $1,000 credit back at the end of the year, because you're healthier. Because the higher your insurance premiums are, the more your employer has to pay towards your
True.
insurance.
True.
So there's so many different ways, sis, that we can start to protect our health.
Yes.
And if now is not the time when we realize that we need to be doing it, I don't know when we'll
Hello.
realize.
If this, if this has not shaken
Right.
our community awake, you're right. I don't know what will.
I don't know what else is going to come.
I wanted to have this conversation because I just wanted to underscore what you have been putting out for so long. For the last 4 years, you have been educating us on this. What can every parent do right now who's sending their child back to school who may not be insured?
It's so hard. I struggle with that, because I realize, in my conversation around that, LaJoyce, I realize how blessed I am. I'm in a position where I can stay home with my babies.
That's right.
I can be here and make sure that they stay here, and be safe. And I realize that so many people who contribute to our economy and work in America are frontline workers, or are people who do not have the luxury to have support,
Right.
or have people who can help. They have to go to work.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very sensitive to how I, make my assessment of what parents can do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, if you don't have health care in this country, you know, especially with, you know, this election season, healthcare is on the docket. It is on the docket. Uh,
Hard.
and we're coming up on open enrollment, you know.
Yes.
Go
Yes.
on to www.aca.gov and make sure that you are enrolling your family for the upcoming uh, insurance year, because we
Mhm.
don't know if in 2021 or in 2022 this Supreme Court, you know, who this president is trying to seat on this Supreme Court, if they will repeal or roll that back. So, you know, grandfather clauses are real. We have to make sure that we're stepping up to the plate now to get coverage now.
What's the website again? So
www.aca.gov.
aca.gov. Well, don't
Get
go
your
away.
health care. And if you
Get
don't
your
have
health
life
care.
insurance, please call us. You know,
Wait a minute. Don't go away. We're going to finish up when we come back on the other side of this break. I'm Dr. Joyce Brookshire. We'll be back after this.